Good morning, my friends. I am Rick, and this is your seat at the table. I recently, last 6 months or so, had to give up Pepsi as my go-to drink of pretty much every day because of diabetic issues, and switched over to Pepsi Zero. But my really big go-to has been this Powerade Zero Sugar. There's no calories, no sugar to it. It's got electrolytes and other things in it. It's really good, and so I was surprised because when I was younger, a lot of diet stuff just horribly tasted horrible. This one here is mixed berry, and I put it in the freezer for a little bit so it gets a little bit of ice going on in there. But hey, this is not what you're here for. This is Rick, and this is Fastest Battletech. Let's talk all things Battletech. The Star League. In a gist, Battletech in the MechWarrior universe has a very deep and rich backstory. And the truth of it is, there's so many layers of history that you could campaign and play in successfully. Any one of the succession wars, the reunification wars, succession wars, the formation of Star League. The key concepts, of course, with BattleTech is tabletop war gaming, but the role-playing games portion of it has grown a lot of momentum too. It did, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s. The genesis of one of the things is that majority by the current version, we're well past the clan wars and stuff, but the year 3025, the end of the third succession war, the beginning of the fourth succession war is on the horizon. Truth is, a lot of the machinery, the tanks, the weapons, the battle techs, the aerospace fighters, the stuff were created in the Star League era, and or are direct descendants or design plans from those mechs. So you can go back anywhere along that 400-year stretch and have a campaign set in a different era and still have pretty much everything that's available to your players on the table within reason. So one of those beautiful things that come out, of course, is that, like a lot of game systems, they want to have a depth and detail. Unlike a lot of game systems, and I'm thinking as a poor comparison, if we look at Dungeons and Dragons, is the system, is what rules. There's a number of settings they run. For example, the other ones come to mind. It's kind of falling off my tongue at the moment because I was never big into it. But the majority of the rules and the source books and material is to give you stuff to utilize in the setting. Other game systems like FAST is famous for this. If you look at Shadowrun, it's a prime example. The old Star Trek from FAST, a prime example. This is the same thing. So what we have is the game's mechanics, but the setting is king. And so one of the books that they came out with, the source book, is the Star League, and it gives us all the introduction and information. I paid $15 for this book. It should be a $50 book today, right? And I don't know if Catalyst Games has come out with an updated version of this. They may have. And I did it earlier. If you've seen the unboxing I did of the technical manual that I purchased from Catalyst Games, which basically it was a recap of a bunch of other technical manuals I already had, that kind of soured me a little bit on Catalyst Games material. I'm very leery of spending what little money I have on new material if it's just going to recap 99% of what I already have, because I just can't justify the expense. It's just a personal thing. This was published in 1988. I would have bought this as soon as it came out and hit the shelves. I was already well into my Battletech phase at that point. So it gives us an introduction, the history of the Star League, roots of the Battletech universe, and exploration getting off of the planet, off of Earth, Terran Alliance, starting with the 2014, the Second Soviet Civil War ends with the surrender of the last Old Guard-controlled ICBM site to Loyalist forces. True to their word, NATO forces begin to pull out of Russia. Leaders of the various Western powers meet in the newly reunited Berlin to discuss the British Prime Minister's call for a new alliance of Western nations. NATO and the European Common Market are dissolved in favor of the Western alliance. The leaders of various Soviet political and ethnic groups meet at Kiev. These representatives formally dissolve the USSR and create 7 independent Russian states in a loose confederation. These 7 states begin a 10-year probationary period, after which the Western Alliance will consider making them members. 2018, while working on a prototype fusion reactor at Stanford University, professors Thomas Kearney And Takayashi Fushida noticed anomalies inconsistent with known laws of physics. These two scientists published what happened to the universe when Einstein wasn't looking in the September issue of the Western Alliance Journal of Theoretical Physics. In 2019, Kearney and Fushida published Einstein's theories, the cooked and the raw. In 2020, first-scale fusion reactors completed by a team of Harvard and MIT engineers and General Motors Corporation. The reactor exceeds all expectation. Kearney and Fushida published their famous paper entitled Now What? In 2021, our current year, Kearney and Fushida published The Pan-Dimensionality. Other scientists consider the contents of these papers to be even more amusing than their titles. The two scientists are laughed out of their jobs and their profession. Professor Takayashi Fushida marries Catherine Kurita. Many generations later, descendants of the marriage will rule one of the largest, most powerful interstellar realms. General Motors patents the first commercially available fusion reactor. So it just goes on and on. I mean, obviously, you can see it's definitely a divergent timeline. Swamp Fever, Chaos, James McKenna, Interview with the Admiral, Time for Change, first the formation of the hegemony, and I never can pronounce this word correctly. Hegemony. Thank you to Old Text and the Black Pants Legion, because I listen to other people pronounce these things. It's like Kurita. I've always called it Kurita. I always called House Liao, because that's how I read it. New charter, first president of the Hegemony Congress, Terrence Aaron Block, Battle of Orange Shores, it just goes on. Death of James McKenna, the rise of the Camerons, and the initial foundation of what will become the Star League. Push forth the Age of War. So the list just goes. I mean, there are some people out there in YouTube land who have broken these books down and do an entertaining version that I would love to do, but I'm not going to be as entertaining, because all I would be doing is reading to you from the book of what's going on here in the history and stuff. But this book here is just why the industry is the way it is. So look at this. The rise of Camerons, the Age of War, One Species, One Realm, the birth of the Star League, Prelude to War, Reunification War, Post-Era, Peace and Prosperity, the Arab Decline, the Prophecy Uprising, the Emrys Coup, the Hegemony Campaign, the end of the Star League, the exodus of the Star League, which eventually becomes the clans, which is a whole other set of books. Social political structure of the First Lord, High Council, Royal Court, Nobility, Bureau of Star League Affairs, Spartan Administration, etc., etc. Star League Defense Forces, commanding generals at the time, recruiting, uniforms in the SDS, rank structure, weapons industries, base depots, socio-economic, society, religion. I mean, the book is, it is so full of material and stuff. And I have read this several times from cover to cover. And we're talking almost 200 pages of material here. Lots of excellent backstory material. Lots of explanations as to huge and why and how Battletech becomes what it is and where you go. As game reference material, it's very valuable for playing in this genre. For setting campaigns, particularly getting flavor. The options are just kind of endless, right? What they all went through and how it started, etc., etc. Alright, so here we'll get some of these color pictures. The Star League, officer uniforms, naval dress uniform, naval duty uniform, naval officer duty uniform, fighter pilot, mech warrior, armor crews, infantry, technical support, engineer for the Navy, cargo inspector, security officer, courtesan, high command, regular army command, etc., etc. Breakdown of the Star League units at the height of the Star League. Many of the survivors, which end up going on the exodus with Kerensky, various military industry places, many which could still preside into the Fourth Succession War and various forms, society, religion, education, the Golden 10 universities, the arts, societal problems, Atlas of the Terran hegemony, worlds that were. Some of these worlds in current versions of BattleTech are mere shells of what they once were, subject to massive nuclear exchanges in the First Succession War, many times fought over during the wars in between and before and after. By the time of the Fourth Succession War and the clan invasion, some of these worlds have recovered, and some of them are in various stages of recovery, but this is what they were in their prime at that time. The prime at that time, right? So this is just like I said. I'm just giving you a glimpse into it, not a deep overview of this source book. I imagine in time, depending on whether or not my enthusiasm wanes or waxes, I look at some of this stuff and I think, geez, there are certain things that could be dealt with in, just the amorous coup alone, right? It's a great subject material, but this is something that would take. I've seen other people do it in videos and things like that, and I'm going to try to remember to put links into their channels, and they do it much more entertaining than I do, but it's hours long stuff. I'm just saying, if you really want to see some stuff on BattleTech, go look at Grimdark Narrator's takes on it. This is what I wanted to tell you about the Star League, or Grandpa Tex and the Black Pants Legion. There are some people with some deep pockets and some resources. They put together some really good stuff. They don't have a huge amount of material yet, but they do have crack notch stuff, and I expect to see more as they continue because their popularity is pretty potent in the community. Till next time, this is Rick, and your seat at the table on all things BattleTech.